Hi, welcome to Art with Miss O. Today we're going to be talking about perspective. Perspective is the act of creating three-dimensional objects on a two-dimensional surface, like a piece of paper or a canvas, in a way that looks natural and realistic. Perspective can create illusion, making you feel like there is space and depth in an object. What we're going to be talking about today is one-point perspective. One-point perspective is a drawing method that shows how things appear to get smaller as they get further away, closer to a converging or intersecting point called a vanishing point. So here's our vanishing point. And the vanishing point is set somewhere on your horizon line. So your horizon line is where the sky and the earth meet. In a one-point perspective picture, there's only going to be this one converging, intersecting point. Nowhere else will there be another vanishing point on your horizon line in one-point perspective. So we have vanishing point. We also have our horizon line established. So now we can start creating three-dimensional shapes. We're going to start by creating squares, cubes. Now I'm using a ruler. It's very important when creating a perspective drawing to have a straight edge. Rulers are helpful as you can measure to make sure that your lines are the same length or that you're coming a certain amount of space off the horizon line. But since this is just a practice to get you to understand and illustrate what perspective is, I am not doing that right now. So if you're at home and you don't have a ruler handy, you could also use anything that has a straight edge. I'm going to use a pencil to create my guidelines. I have my square drawn, and my first guideline is going to go from my vanishing point to the bottom corner of my sphere that's closest to my vanishing point. And this is a guideline. I'm going to do my guidelines in pencil to remind you that guidelines are important for getting the layout of where you want everything placed, but they are not really part of the picture. So I have the one face identified. I'm going to get this bottom corner. And then I'm going to use those guidelines to make the faces of my cube. It's also very important with that straight edge to slide over to get the edge of your box. You do not want to have a crooked line. If you think you got it straight but it's actually going at an angle, it's going to make your cube wonky and hard to calibrate to the vanishing point once you start getting those other lines in there. So if it looks off, check to make sure that your line is actually parallel to the first line that you made. Do the same thing here. Pull down until I meet that line and pull it straight across there and follow up to the last corner. Now I have a opaque three-dimensional square. I could come in and shade this side to help it look more three-dimensional. Of the opaque cube, what if I want a transparent cube, like a big block of glass or ice? So then I would tell you, you're going to continue using your vanishing point to create guidelines, and we will set a guide that goes from this vanishing point here to my top corner. So I'm going to make my vanishing point guideline, and I'm going to take that parallel line and make it match up to this corner, and I'm going to push down there, and I have the box of this right side wall. I'm going to drag down from my top face and put a line in that goes from this wall to this corner here. And last, I'll take my vanishing point to make the corner. There, so now we have a transparent cube. If I wanted to get rid of my if I wanted to get rid of my guidelines, I could come back and erase them out. And then you have a nice transparent block cube that is above your horizon line. So this would be a block that's floating in the air. Let's follow up and make a block sitting on the ground. I'm going to start by creating my square again. Again, I'm not measuring, but I definitely could. I'm using my ruler for a straight edge today. So now I have my opening square. We're going to turn this square into a three-dimensional cube. I'm going to create guidelines to the corners of the top of the box. And then using my pen, I'm going to use that guideline to create the top surface of my new cube. Now, since it's below the horizon line, I can see the top of this opaque cube. But earlier, when we were drawing above the horizon line, we couldn't see the top. All we could see was this bottom face until we made it transparent. So as long as we want it to be opaque, remember opaque means you can't see through it, all we can see on this particular cube is the top space and the face that's facing you. The face that's on either side is pushed back inside of the cube. The back face is hidden behind the top, and the bottom is on the ground so our eye can't see it. If I wanted to make this nice, pretty opaque cube see-through or transparent, I could come in, make some walls, create a guideline to my corners, and that would enable us to see or better imagine what those other faces would look like. So I have my front face, and we just created the left side face by going over this guideline. I now have the right face right here, and when I connect the two, I can get my back face. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. Top, bottom, left, right, front, back. I would like for you to now take the